And just starting to settle together in our practice. You can sit, you can lie down, you can walk. Just taking some time to allow the body, mind, and breath to come into the practice. And together we begin to wait for the in-breath and wait for the out-breath. And eventually the sensations of the breath come. Waiting for the in-breath. And waiting for the out-breath. Breathing in. Breathing out. I feel my breath. And as you begin to feel the body breathing, that out breath brings the feeling of the weight of the body resting downwards. Breathing in, I ask my mind to sense gravity. Breathing out, I feel the weight of the body resting downwards. Breathing in, breathing out. Begin to feel the weight of the body settling with each breath. The weight of the shoulders settling, arms and hands. The weight of the torso settling, pelvis, legs, and feet. A sense of groundedness begins to be felt in the practice. And the breath becomes light. The eyes begin to be ready to rest. The jaw relaxes. And the muscles of the neck begin to soften. Waiting for that in-breath. Waiting for that out-breath. I feel my being beginning to settle. And a sense of peace begins to build within my being. as I feel gravity in the breath. I can feel our togetherness as I become the feeling of the breath. And gravity. And the mind begins to become light and open. As I sense the breath. Becomes ready to rest back into this sensing state. And a deep listening begins across the horizon for sound and silence. The mind begins to sense space. As it rests back. It begins to sense the sky. The presence of openness. And our being begins to relax in this feeling of the sky. We become that feeling of openness and space. And our beings begin to settle further. When we feel our togetherness with the sky. Our being deeply knows what it is like to be with the sky. You may start to feel happy with this presence of the sky. Breathing in. Breathing out. I feel my togetherness with the breath. Gravity. And the sky. Deep within, a quieting begins. I can feel that settling. And perhaps a moment of stillness or silence comes. As the mind rests in this waiting, sensing state. and a deeper sense of settling continues. As the mind gets comfortable with this sensing state. I know that I am not alone in this practice. The sky is with me, the breath, gravity, and community. Together we bear this moment. Together we sit with what comes. I do not do this practice alone. Rest in this waiting state. And when needed, you can ask the mind to help you remember the sky. To wait for the breath and gravity. And starting to come back to the breath. Beginning to awaken the body. Beginning to open the eyes. And you can come up to sitting, but you do not have to. Okay. So I'm going to teach tonight on that feeling of running from this moment, but also the feeling of settling into this moment. And it's important to understand the feeling of both of them. So we understand, what do I want to rest in? When does the running come? And what does the settling feel like? And I deeply know the feeling of psychologically running away from this moment. It's boring. I need to get to something that is more interesting and entertaining. I'll feel better when. A running of planning. Well, I need to get that done. I don't have time, so I need to make sure. That feeling of this and jumping, psychologically, it's an up kind of energy. And it keeps going and going and going. Some people may experience it as I can't stop the thinking. It keeps going and going and going. No matter how much I try, it just keeps coming. And that feeling is like an engine just revving, or the train keeps going, that energy, the feeling of running. We have pain or the difficulty that is here, the feeling of not wanting it to be here. Can't bear this pain any longer. I need to find a way to get out of it. I understand that feeling of running because that is within me. That feeling of constantly seeking pleasure and getting away from pain. I understand that feeling constantly happening. But the beauty is we can also come to really understand the feeling of settling. It wasn't until I started to really explore Thich Nhat Hanh's work on connection, a simple type of practice of slow walking meditation, to really take in everything. It's so slow, the walking, that like you have all the time in the world to see that tree going by. It's not fast at all. You realize everything is here and you can watch it. And you start to actually realize, I have time. I have time. And when you start to have time, you start to feel the immenseness of the sky. Wow. You start to feel the spaciousness of the sky. And all of a sudden you realize for just a moment, that feeling of spaciousness is within you as you're walking. And just for a moment, you feel like you are together with the sky because you meet in that spaciousness. And as soon as I feel that I'm with the sky, I am that spaciousness, we are together. I feel this great joy and happiness. And the thought that comes through me is, you are my everything. I love you. It's just this love and appreciation. And as soon as that comes, as soon as I have time, as soon as I start to feel what is here, and I realize that feeling of we become one, we meet in that spaciousness, and that love begins to pour out. There's a deep, deep settling that can be felt. I don't want to go anywhere else but here. I want to be with you, sky. I just love you so much. You are my everything. And there's just this awe of being together. And everything begins to quiet down. Maybe all the things that I had to do that day, it doesn't matter anymore. In that moment, it is quiet. And it's just the sky and me becoming one. And that is our beautiful ticket to understanding a natural settling into this moment. When we start to feel our togetherness in a moment, when we become that feeling of one, there's a natural settling in this moment, because the feeling of me and the separation of you and I have to go do something, that energy, it stops. It stops naturally because I'm resting together with the sky. It's not me separate from the sky in that moment. We are that spaciousness in that moment. And everything begins to rest back. So in our practice tonight, we don't have to try to stop thinking. We don't have to try and stop the pain from being here. We don't have to do that trying of always me doing something to get to that next moment or out of pain or thinking stopping. If you build the feeling in your practice of the sky, if you give yourself time to feel your togetherness with the breath, we wait, we actually feel the breath. We actually sense the horizon. And you actually feel it. There'll be a moment where you can sense spaciousness. And as soon as you sense that feeling of spaciousness, you are one with the sky. You meet in that feeling. And that begins to settle your being into the now. When we are one, that energy of the me stops. And we just rest back in that bare moment of spaciousness. Okay, so tonight, let's focus on how our togetherness can help us naturally settle in the moment. All right. Let's go back into our practice. Once again, just taking time to settle back. Choosing whatever posture you would like. You can have eyes opened or closed. Together we begin with that practice of a waiting state. Waiting for the in-breath. And waiting for the out-breath. And you will see that that feeling of the breath will come. When we release that effort and we wait, the breath will come. We rest in the in-breath. And we rest in the out-breath. We begin to feel our togetherness. Breathing in. Breathing out. We can feel the weight of the body settling. as we feel the breath. Resting in that waiting state. The mind can feel the weight of the body beginning to rest down. The feeling of letting go of the arms and the hands. A feeling that allows the breath to move freely. Breathing in. Breathing out. I become the breath. Breathing in. Breathing out. I become that feeling of gravity. I can feel our togetherness. I can sense the mind beginning to relax. And I can feel the ears listening across the horizon. I know that feeling of the open sky. I can feel it. And that airiness and spaciousness come. The mind becomes light. We become that feeling of the sky. Give yourself a moment here to be in that spaciousness. When you are there, there is no separation between you and the sky. You are together in the feeling of space. You are one. You are held in an embrace together. Watch for that deep settling that comes when you rest in that oneness. The quieting and the happiness of being together. Your heart becomes happy with this feeling of togetherness. And it becomes ready to express its deep love and appreciation. When I am with you, sky, I feel so happy. You are my everything. I so dearly love to be with you. May all beings come to know this. May they be happy. And let that light and goodness beam from your heart as you feel that togetherness. That soaring of love. Here, anything feels possible in this feeling of great love. Your being is ready to rest back in this love. A deep quiet is sensed within your being. Happiness to be here and now is felt. Breathing in, breathing out. I know the feeling of deep settling in this moment. I know the feeling of that effort and running, slowing, and stopping. When my heart feels togetherness in that love, the running stops. Wait for that in-breath and wait for that out-breath. When the running picks back up, remember your togetherness. And wait for that settling to come back. As you continue your practice, the thinking and running will begin to pick up again, and that's okay. That forming of a separate self will come back, and that's okay. Your mind will need reassurance that you are not alone, that you do not do this practice alone. You do not bear difficulty alone. We do this practice together. It does not matter whose pain or anger it is ours. Together we will sit with what comes. We will bring our loving presence to what is here. Perhaps your being will begin to relax again when it understands this togetherness. I do not do this practice alone. Sky is with me. We meet in spaciousness. I am here with the breath and gravity. And I do not bear anything alone. It is not mine. It is not yours. It is ours to bear. See all beings sitting with you. Whatever pain is here, it is not for you to bear alone. And whatever love is here, you do not generate this alone. See all beings with you. The sky and the birds, trees, animals, the earth, the sun. Together we bear what comes. Starting to come back to the breath. Beginning to awaken the body. When you feel ready, letting the eyes open and come up to sitting if you like. You can unmute yourself and bring palms together. Namaste.
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 Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.